Hello Moodlings, my name is Dr. Nicole Lunan and I'm the CEO and co-founder of MoodMe, a new app that allows you to share over 400 plus moods, emotions, and desires with your lover, thus making communication simple, fun, and super easy. Trauma bonding is something that can happen when people are in any romantic relationship, especially when there's a sense of mistreatment involved. Think of it like this. Imagine being on a roller coaster with your emotions going up, going down all the time. It's not stable. And that's kind of what it's like. In these relationships, when there's an argument or something bad happens, the main goal is to make sure in a good relationship that it doesn't happen again. But strangely, in a trauma bond relationship, it happens over and over and over again. It can happen again, but even worse. And it becomes harder and harder to leave. This happens because you start feeling more attached emotionally after each time you try to make things better in the relationship and it returns back to the way it was, or it just gets worse. It's like your brain wants to find a way to survive. So you start thinking that the person who's hurting you isn't all bad. And you keep going. In a way, you become addicted to this mistreatment. This can be really confusing because despite the mistreatment, you might still feel like you love or depend on your partner, and you might even feel sorry for them. These feelings are totally real, and we all want to feel connected to someone. So as a way to survive through this tough situation, we figure out how to adjust and stay in the relationship, even when it's not good for us. And remember, this can happen to anyone, and it's often super hard to seeing it happen to yourself. Trauma bonds go beyond just a difficult relationship. They're strongly connected to our fundamental desire for closeness and safety. The person who's causing harm holds significant authority and power and is controlling, which mixes with feelings of shame and humiliation, creating a situation of where the abused partner finds it difficult to break free. Trauma bonds go beyond just a difficult relationship. They're strongly connected to our fundamental desire for closeness and safety. The person who's causing harm holds significant authority and influence and is controlling, which mixes with the victim's shame, humiliation, creating a situation where the abused partner feels incredibly challenging, difficult to break free. Trauma bonds go beyond just a difficult relationship. They're strongly connected to our fundamental desire for closeness and safety. The person who's causing harm holds significant authority and influence and is controlling, which mixes with feelings of shame and feelings of humiliation, creating a situation where the abused partner finds it extremely difficult to break free. The bond itself is not formed from love, but the roller coaster ride of a mixture of kindness with mistreatment and abuse. The bond is formed from the intense trauma that is felt when your mind and your body learns to live in instability, uncertainty, and chaos. If you live in a state of fear long enough, your body, in the strangest way, adapts and becomes addicted to it. So in trauma bonding, your body becomes used to this up and down roller coaster ride, to this person being really sweet to you, so sweet to you, intentionally sweet to you, and also so mean and harsh to you at the same time. Your body becomes addicted to this. It becomes like a drug, like chaos. It's addicted to the chaos, to the ups and downs. And that's one of the biggest things that will latch you to a person if you were trauma bonded with them. Also, if you grew up with parents who had a trauma bond instead of like a loving and supportive relationship, a healthy relationship, this could be absolutely normal to you. These ups and downs, not only was your parents or were your parents used to this type of, hilly behavior, you as a child, as a sponge, could also be used to this type of chaos. For those who become accustomed to the cycle of trauma in relationships, a healthy relationship may seem boring because you're addicted to the feeling of chaos. Almost like watching a scary movie, you're on edge waiting for the next twist and turn. And in a way, I feel that it becomes a little bit exciting. Obviously, it's not good exciting. It's like we said, watching a scary movie exciting. You're stressed out, you're anxious. What's gonna happen next? So why do trauma bonding relationships happen? A trauma bonding relationship happens because strong emotions are mixed up with cycles of abuse. Imagine it like this. When we're in a tough situation, our body goes into a sort of survival mode where we focus on the here and the now. We don't think too much about the future. However, we might dwell on the past. And if something nice happens after something bad, it can make us feel really attached to the situation or the person. So for example, if your partner is extremely mean to you, you have a blow-up fight, there's a lot of disrespect, and all of a sudden there's flowers on your door, that person's acting super nice, washing the dishes, picking you up for dates, it's confusing, and your brain doesn't really want to think about the bad things that happened. Why? when the good things are happening all of a sudden. Sometimes we have a knack of focusing on what we want to. So if you feel really attached to a specific relationship, even if it's not healthy for you, your brain can play back the beginning of the relationship and how things were so good and this person was so nice. A lot of people are nice at the beginning of the relationship. That's not really who they are. Characters, they kind of unfold, as the relationship goes forwards. But we see what we want to. So sometimes we only want to see the good in this person and we'll overlook the bad. A good example of this is Big Little Lies, the character that Nicole Kidman played. Her husband was obviously very abusive, physically abusive, verbally abusive, all kinds of abuse across the board. And yet she still is struggling. You see scenes where they're okay again, where things are happy, where the sex is good. And then you see scenes where he's like abusing her and almost like quite literally killing her. And the struggle between, should she see the demon or should she see the angel? And for a lot of people, they hold on to that version of the angel because in their particular situation, that's what suits them for right now. This kind of relationship is often a sign of unhealthy going on. It's possible to fix it if both people realize what's happening and they want to change. But in many cases, it's hard to understand because it's often happening where one person is acting like a narcissist and the other person is an empath or extremely caring and accommodating and overgiving. Usually empaths think they can help the narcissist. They try really hard to show them that they're valuable. But the narcissist doesn't see it that way and can take advantage of an empath's kindness. They might even think that the empath's compassion is a sign of weakness. Usually empaths think they can help the narcissist, so they try really hard to show them that they're valuable. But the narcissist doesn't see it that way and can take advantage of an empath's kindness. They might even think the empath is compassionate and it's weak think. The reason why they're attracted to each other is because they both want something from each other. It's not a healthy way to get attention or feel valued. This can get even more complicated if the empath depends a lot on the relationship, if they're looking at the other person to provide value for their worth. Those who end up on the empath or the overgiving side of a trauma bond, the people who are trying to show, hey, I'm worthy, look at me, I'm willing to give to you all of these things, I'm willing to help you grow, I'm willing to do all of these things, do you love me now? And the taker or the narcissist is like, I'm thinking that you're kind of weak right now because you have lack of boundaries and I'm going to exploit your lack of boundaries and cause you pain. And then after the pain, the narcissist will then give them a little teeny weensy bit of kindness, a time where that person would be really nice and loving. And all of a sudden, the overgiver, the empath is like, see, this person does appreciate me. There is a good person in there. What the empath doesn't really understand is that they're using that little bit of nice, kind energy as like a tease. It's almost like when a drug dealer gives a little bit of drugs to like an addict and then they start like teasing them with it, ranking up the prices because they know they got them. That little bit of kindness, that version of them is a tease. If this keeps going, they can get even more attached, especially if there are some good moments in the relationship that give the empath hope. And the narcissist is a very good trickster with giving hope. So even when things are getting really bad and the empath is about to leave, the narcissist will provide a sense of hope. Hey, they'll be nice to them. They'll do something that reminds them of how the relationship used to be when they first started dating. Narcissist keeps being mean and making the empath feel bad. They might use the empath as a way to blame someone else for their own problems. Empaths usually take on the blame and feel bad about themselves, which is why it's really hard to break free of a relationship like this, especially if the trauma bond has formed between them. Why does trauma bonding feel like love? Well, there are strong feelings in both of them. Love and trauma bonding, you can feel really strong emotions. These emotions can be positive, like love, or negative, like fear, and feeling like you cannot be without someone. These intense feelings can make it tricky to tell the difference between them. In trauma bonding, there's tricky behavior. People who are abusive often do things to control and manipulate their victims. They might act super nice one minute, we call that love bombing, and then make you doubt yourself the next minute, or gaslighting. So there's a mixture of love bombing and gaslighting. And sometimes they're nice, sometimes they're not, That's intermittent reinforcement. When they're nice, you might think that this is really love, even though it's all a part of their plan to control you. A lot of times with narcissists, it's all about manipulation and control. So that constant flip from love bombing to gaslighting, kindness to just pure evil, it's to keep you off kilter, to keep you off balance. Because if you get your balance, if you get grounded, if you start coming back to yourself and your mind gets clear, you might become aware of the fact that something isn't right. In a trauma bonding relationship, you might feel dependent. And both love and trauma bonding, you might feel like you really, really, really need this person, can't live without them. Love is about being there for each other emotionally, which can feel a lot like needing someone. That's why it's confusing between love and trauma bonding. But in trauma bonding, it's more about being scared and feeling like you can't survive without this person. In a trauma bonding relationship, you'll likely be confused. Abusive partners do things that just don't make any sense. They don't follow, current patterns, healthy patterns. They might act like they love you one moment and then hurt you the next. This can be really confusing, and you might wonder if they actually love you or if it's just your fault that they're acting this way. In a trauma bonding relationship, you might feel very, very alone. Abusers often try to keep you away from your friends and family. They want you all to themselves, so they isolate you. When you're cut off from other people, it's hard to see that there may be other sources of love out there, real sources of love and support outside the relationship. In a trauma bonding relationship, your self-esteem will plummet. Both love and trauma bonding can affect how you see yourself. If you're in a trauma bond, you might start thinking that you're not worth much, which can make it tough to leave the bad relationship. But when love is healthy and supportive, it can actually boost your self-confidence and self-esteem and make you feel better about yourself. So here are some signs of trauma bonding. Power imbalance, feeling like you can't leave, making excuses and justifying their behavior, keeping the abuse a secret, wanting to appease the abuser, giving up and instead caving in to the abuser's wishes, distancing and isolating yourself, hoping that you can one day change them, holding on to the good old days or the nice version of them, wanting love despite the abuse, loss of independence, waiting for the other shoe to drop, and blatant disrespect of your boundaries.